And the nurses couldn't understand how it could be. They said, well, he's got to be, sedated because he's not crying out. And I was no, but they came in, and I'm just like, I mean, I don't know how I could exude so much water.
So that was something that you could get your hands on, but the other stuff outside of you, the social and all of those emotional things.
That was incorporating everyone else around me who were totally innocent too. And that hurt.
That's more painful.
That was more painful when they were hurting my wife, they were hurting my family,
okay. Sure.
My mom and dad.
Absolutely.
That really hurt.
Right.
It was hurting other people that I had worked hard with. Those are pains that hurt you, I think, the most.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Hurt me. Come after me if you want to, but leave them alone. So Maximilian Kolbe, to give up his life under the promise that this other guy would live, he didn't know for sure if this commandant was going to keep his word or not.
Sure, we'll kill you, and then we'll get this guy on the other end.
Yeah. So there's differences. There's this, but everything comes with an acceptance of these things. And what you got to do is realize that this life doesn't mean nearly as much as the reward of the next one.
Okay. Yeah, because you had mentioned that certain things when you were in the darkest moments of even thinking perhaps my life should even end, you thought of that experience you had of our Lord.
Being able to see heaven's light.
And you said, well, you can't. Don't walk away from that. That's what this whole thing is about.
No, it's too rewarding. It's too. I mean, I've only seen the light. I don't know I didn't see anybody, but I could feel the light, and in that light, I could feel there was like this total agreement that there isn't any adversarial position. There's no contention. Everything is agreement. And that's why we're all made in God's image.
Right.
It's not of a physical image. It's of an agreement, this love. God's image is that of love. And that's what we're all made in that image. We physically have expressed it differently through our unique DNA, but that's part of God's design too. That's why you represent your father. You resemble your father, but you're not your father.
Right.
There's that little picture of your little grandson, little Rocco. I've said, poor kid. He looks just like you.
He looks more Fiato than the Fiatos with his curly hair, and his brother's different.
If you can imagine Alex back at 6 years old, this kid is just so cute.
Well,
what happened?
I never saw myself as being cute, but I kept going. I think
in spite of yourself.
Yeah, you just find yourself 74 years old sitting with this guy, talking about our Lord's love and how He's allowed us to participate in that, and these beautiful gifts that we should be receiving, and we seem to be slow on the uptake. But one of the things, Larry, if you take a look at that, our Lord has tried to intervene with us for quite some time now. And I made a list of things, and we've gone over it before, but perhaps, Larry, if you can take a look at our Lord's intervention. I think I started off with, was it Our Lady of Guadalupe?
Well, you start off in 1532 with Our Lady of Guadalupe, which she comes to, what was his name, Diego?
Yeah, Juan Diego.
Juan Diego. Everyone says, well, you're like Juan Diego. I said, well, he played shortstop for the Mets.
Right, Diego. Right, he was a good.
I said, no, he couldn't hit his weight. That's why he didn't last. So 1532, we got Our Lady of Guadalupe. And then we have 1635. You've got your Mary of Agreda starts writing all of her things here. Then you have Junipero Serra, 1769.
He did all the missions up and down California.
So that's like another 130 years, 135 years different.
Right.
And he's showing up with the mystical city of God.
He says, I carry 2 books. I carry the Holy Bible.
But he gets there, and they said, where's the lady? Or whatever, we're here for our confessions or whatever they were looking for.
Yeah, that was in the the lady in blue,
They
the
said,
Indians.
they said,
right?
well, the lady in blue had already
Right.
told us 130 years earlier,
Right.
or
That's right.
whatever that was. You
Right.
know, a big time lapse there. So they get there, and the Indians have already got this into their traditions,
Right.
and they're
instructed. Yeah.
their nighttime fire stories.
Mary of Agreda bilocated from Spain to the United States.
The woman in blue, as
woman
they
in
just
blue.
called her, yeah.
Yeah.
And they didn't call her the white woman; they just called her the
lady
woman in
in
blue. And so that's kind of cool. And then 1777, so we're jumping ahead another 8 years or so from I don't know. Sarah was probably out there about eight. I don't know. Was he out there before Valley Forge or?
I think so. What is it? 17? What?
Well, you have his dates of life, 1769 to 1823.
Yeah, before Valley Forge.
So Valley Forge was 77.
Right. It was the revolution. And then Our Lady comes to the commander in chief of the United
Right.
States and then articulates 3 perils, of which we believe are in the 3rd peril now.
The Revolution was the first one. The Civil War was the second one, and then the New World Order,
Is this one?
the national sovereignty being
The
questioned, yeah.
Muslim invasion of the United States, the Muslim invasion of Europe, and
or the elitist takeover
That's right.
of all the governments,
right.
and that includes the Vatican, because
Yes, it does,
because they're all part of this government
That's right.
organization, this buy-in that they've all done.
Pretty frightening, isn't it?
Well, and it's even more frightening now that you got the allowances here, like out in Washington State, to remove the sanctity of the confessional.
Imagine
So
that.
taking a major underpinning of the tenets of faith and the practice, and to take that away, so you're not going to trust that. That's an element of hell being brought into the world, because hell is a place where nobody tells the truth and you don't tell the truth. You lie to yourself.
That's right.
So no one can be trusted, and this is why the advent of AI is
It's
going to be
really
even
going to
more
bring in that
critical.
confusion. Yeah.
That's going to bring even more. But they're setting the table here for the allowances of these things by trying to subordinate the other practices of the church that have been held sacred for all this time. So if they're going to take that away, what's going to be next? Are they going to start taxing you to practice your faith?
Could be, yeah.
Well, if you do this one, well, it's going to be this much tax. If you do this, well, it's going to be 30%. If you only do that, well, it's only 20%. If you only do that, well, it's only 5%.
Are they going to monitor us in terms of our social?
They kind of already are, in a lot of ways. They tried to say that the NSA wasn't monitoring U.S. citizens. Our friend Clapper tried saying that when he testified. That was all a lie. They were doing it. So all that is falling apart, all that Russia stuff. So that's going to cause a lot of problems because they got the goods on these guys. I mean, they got it. And Trump still has 3 years.
Did you hear that Hillary Clinton said that Trump should get the Nobel Peace Prize?
She said if he could bring about peace between Russia and Ukraine, she would nominate him.
What does that mean?
If he could bring about peace between Russia and Ukraine,
she would
she would nominate him for the.
And what do you think about her character of nominating?
Well, who is she to nominate?
you already interfaced with this lady.
Well, I mean, she has no room, I think, to be the arbiter of who is and who is not, a viable person. But I just think
that was a miracle that you were involved with her, and that you confronted her and her character of being like a.
I told her, I said, "There's no way
stuffy."
I said, "There's no way in hell I'd sell this place to you guys."
It could have been an out for you too. I mean, financially.
Oh, but I told him, I said, I'd rather go down in flames and sell the place to her.
And you told her why? Why?
Well, because for not standing up to your husband.
And
I said, you want to see a real woman? I said, look at my wife. I said, she would have walked out. I said, that's what a real woman would have done. I said, you didn't. You made a deal.
Sure, she did. So, and how did she respond to your direct?
Just insolence. So she
is
just,
that right?
We're wasting our time. Let's go. She was, let's go. Let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. But she went to use the bathroom first. And when she came out of the bathroom and walked right for the doorway,
Imagine
you know, minutes later, I start seeing the water creeping out from underneath the bathroom. So she'd gone in and taken all the toilet paper and the hand towels and stuffed it in there to plug it up. No big deal. I mean, we've
that's
had
the
it before.
person that perhaps had a chance to run the country as a president.
Oh, well, I hopefully that wasn't going to happen.
But at any rate, that's the kind of people that.
Well, that's what you're kind of dealing with. I mean, what they say on TV and what you see isn't always, you know, the right thing. So be careful what you wish for, and especially with things like that. You know, it's like Maya Angelou had said, you know, people always show you who they are in the first 15 minutes. You should believe them.
Right.
You know, there's nothing really to change here.
Yeah, some people announce exactly who they are, and you're thinking, oh, they don't mean that. Yes, they do.
Yeah, and they intend to. So
so as we go down the list.
We got 1777. We got Valley Forge talking about the Revolution, the Civil War, and the New World Order, which the two have come to pass, and we're in the third.
I believe.
So we're in the throes of that. So if these are the concerns that Our Lady has given him in 77, and we're in the last one right now, and we can see it, you know, we should believe it. And what comes out of that is it's the battle for, you know, this country.
The very soul.
Right.
And
Because if this country goes down, the world
the
goes
whole world
with
will
it.
go down.
Right.
That's right.
And we're learning that now more and more, but I think the rest of the world is having some growing pains and some
Waking up.
right. Well, they don't want the medicine. They want the candy. They don't want to work. You know, we've been giving them everything for so long, but we can't keep giving them because we don't have the money to give. You know, you can't keep digging into this pocket over here when, you know.
Yeah, you'll run out of money.
Because this pocket borrowed from this pocket, and this pocket's got to go over and borrow some more money.
And you collapse.
And then, and it's all falling apart. So then we jump to 1850. That's with the young girl Bernadette. And her requests there were to pray for the sinners, to maintain penance of your own, and that Our Lady announced herself as the Immaculate Conception, which the little girl had no idea
What it was.
But she remembered that she had called herself the Immaculate Conception. Now, people in the church authority had known about this concept, and they had talked
tradition,
about it.
correct.
Right. But that was only at the highest levels. It wasn't talked about
We didn't know
from
it,
the pulpits or anything like that. But the folks at the Vatican and the intellectuals that just called her that, I think, as a way of regard. You know, it wasn't a title, but it was a way that they were referring to her.
Yeah.
And I think she liked that, and she took it, and so she declared it for herself at that point, is my feelings on it.
No, I think that was coming out before the pronunciation as a dogma. I think that the dogma came a little bit after, you know, these I am the Immaculate Conception. When was the dogma of the Immaculate?
Well, you say here in 1854 that Pius IX proclaimed the dogma of the Immaculate Conception. So that would have been 4 years before Our Lady of Lourdes.
Okay, all right. So,
but it still wasn't being taught because we think about with more recent things like Fatima, you know, which happened in 1917. Well, my mother who is 99 now and grew up during that time, she had no
there you go then.
discussions in her life as a student in a Catholic school. There was no discussion about Fatima.
Okay.
You know, then, and she was going to school. I mean, she was born in 26, so she was going to high school up until like 42, 44.
And they didn't know about Fatima.
Well, they weren't talking about it.
Yeah, you're right.
So
for all intent and purposes,
it may not have happened, right? It became maybe an interesting newspaper event because the newspapers were there.
Right, but who read the paper?
But she's not getting it afterward.
Right.
And I'm looking to see through some of John Knoll's writings through that period if he's referencing things.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in this book that I'm tearing up right now, which has some great stuff in there about the defeat of Mohammedanism in Europe in the previous century that is nothing like what we're going on through today.
Who would have thought that we'd be that head would be rearing itself
It's
now.
it's been its battle plan. It's been its method of operation for 1,400 years. You know, it's like Maya Angelou says. You know, they tell you who they are. You should believe them. You should believe them. You know, the first immigrants who came in were very peaceful, you know, and passive and like that. They were thankful to get the hell out of where they were.
Yeah.
So, but they came in under that, and now the others that are coming in, the followers, part of the chain, coming into the migration, are not like that. You know, they're here for an opportunity, and they're taking it. And the government here in the United States, you, me, and the other guy, we're all paying for it by way of their instituting their own Sharia law in their own neighborhoods and having multiple wives and letting the government pay for them, you know, with the welfare checks.
It's wild.
You know, so that's why we got to stop, you know, the welfare, you know, for not working. There's something you can do.
Yeah, and they better start getting these young people engaged.
Yeah,
You know,
we can put these welfare
if they're
people to work.
teaching them this filthy ideology of a boy can become a girl and a girl can become
Oh, well,
a boy. You can certainly teach them how to work and have them work.
Well, they're not, because other people do that. You know, I'm above that. I don't do yard work.
Well, we better start instituting a life experience for the young people that they understand what life is about. And they're not going to get it if they're on their phones or they're just entertaining themselves with, you know, these video games or.
Well, this is going to be the generation with the highest suicide rate that the humanity's ever seen.
You think so, Larry?
They're going to be so disengaged and so uninspired that they're not going to find any value
In life.
in anything, and they're going to find a way, and it's going to become very socially acceptable. And
these demons are going to be promoting it, right?
Yep. And we've got 50% of our population has never been baptized or never seen the inside of a church except for a wedding. That's meaningful.
Yeah.
I mean, just in the United States alone,
absolutely.
that's 180 million people.
Absolutely meaningful.
And so if we got 180 million people who are on the other side of that, that's a huge drop-off to be left untethered.
No, absolutely. This is a Holocaust.
Unsecured.
This is a new Holocaust. Not baptized.
And imagine how desperate people were back before the missionaries showed up in places, you know, places that were always at war or things like that. These people didn't value their lives because it could always be gone that afternoon.
Right.
You know, or they could eat bad food and die, you know, or something, you know. Had dinner, he was fine. He'd dead in the morning.
Right.
Well, you know, it happened in developing places and all like that. It was very unusual for anyone to live past the age of 40 years old. You know, you'd have been an old man. That's why it was a blessing to be a grandfather, you know, to live long enough to
see your grandkids
right.
young.
And so if you were starting to pump out kids at 18 or whatever, you know, if the 36 is the next 18 years for your kid to have kids, and you know, to be a grandfather was considered a major blessing, and you know,
no, absolutely is.
You reached your maturity. You know, that's it.
Yeah.
You know, then you die.
Right.
You know, except for you get some of these curmudgeons live on to be 80, 90 years old, and that surprises everybody. Then they become the sages and stuff like that. So, but a lot of times they don't want to hear what they have to say either. So we got 1854 is when the dogma is declared. And so you say there were many physical miracles happen from the Immaculate Conception, or they were looking for them.
Yeah.
So
a lot of miracles when they announced the Immaculate Conception.
Mm-hmm. And then a lot of people have used the waters from Lourdes, from this miraculous spring that came forward, for healings. And it's not that the water itself was miraculous. It was the faith that people were putting in the process.
Some physical, tangible.
Right. That's what we talked about, like Jesus with the mud.
With the mud. And, of course, the water also represented like a baptism when we're baptized with water. But again, it conjures up that idea of the water purifying.
Water is a natural element, and and you need water.
Right.
Water is you need water almost more than you need food, for survival.
That's right.
And,
they say you can survive with water longer than
without water.
Right.
You can survive with water, not food.
Right.
Longer. Sucks either way, but it's hard. So 1884, then we got Pope Leo the 13th.
Is given in a dream a conversation with Lucifer demanding that you give me the church and I'll destroy it. And our Lord said, Leo's listening to this little interplay between Lucifer and Christ.
This is the 100-year thing?
This is the 100-year thing. And he says, well, how long do you need to destroy the church? And he said, well, I need 75 to 100 years. And our Lord said, oh, I grant that to you. So we're not sure when that started and how long our Lord gives him before he says, now it's enough. I suspect that the Antichrist will have to be factored into the destruction of the church. Perhaps not a direct assault on the church, although we are getting a direct assault on the church. But by presenting an alternate church and fooling people to come to this new church that encompasses the Judeo, the Christian, and the Muslim teachings, and then we're the Antichrist.
Or that you're in charge of things, or this, you're the God.
He gets them in, and then he says, now there's a new religion, and I'm God, and he insists on to be worshipped. But which part were we at, Larry?
I was at 84 here with, there was a vision of Pope Leo the 13th.
Yeah.
I was going to say Pope Leo the 13th is also interesting because he issued an imprimatur for a form of medicine, and it's the only time a medical practice, a form of medicine, has ever been granted an imprimatur by the Catholic Church.
You mentioned that, yeah.
And that was for the Knipe method of healing.
Oh, wow.
Because Pope Leo the 13th had been healed by Monsignor Sebastian Knipe.
Well, there you go. Now, again, that him connected to the Springs, because that's the same Sebastian.
Well, to the practice that was practiced at the Springs. Because they were practicing this over in Germany.
Okay.
And then it came to the United States, the practice did. And this happened to be in Rome City, was one of the main places. There was another one out in New York State where they did it, but this was known as the place.
So you got a pope that is listening to this challenge of Lucifer for the destruction of the church, but that also is involved in perhaps a healing. The natural
he was
healing
dying.
methods.
He had a disease going on in his colon.
So in a roundabout way, he was connected with Rome City because that was
through the practice and what came out of that. So
wow, that's wild.
It was like the gifts followed to Rome City but was pronounced here. It's not like he was tied, but it was so impactful that when the nuns, the Sisters of the Precious Blood, along with Father Knoll, when they were designing the windows for the chapel there, they put him into one of the stained glass windows.
Did they?
Yeah, he's the third one.
So this is wild.
He's on the right-hand side. He's the third window down.
This is radioactive. I mean, it's the gold standard, Our Lady of America. I mean, this is like, wait till it just explodes.
Well, he was pretty aggressive about some of the things he did, because after he was brought back from his deathbed, he got to be pretty more aggressive, I think, about his pastorship as a pope. So I think he got more aggressive and decided, hey, I got an opportunity to do some things. Yeah. So he does his thing. Jesus and Satan have their little side bet here for the 100 years. When that started or stopped, no one really knows. So 1917, we've got Fatima, and that was to combat atheism and Russia's consecration. And so right now, okay, with half of our population not being baptized and not considering God or heaven or even Jesus to be anything more than just another prophet,
Right.
just like what they would call Muhammad, who no one ever saw. You know, they wrote about this guy, but no one ever really saw him.
That's wild.
But people wrote about Jesus, and they all saw him.
Right.
There's a big difference there.
Oh, the Romans wrote about Jesus and about what
Yeah.
he did, and I forget the writer, but it's all over the place.
He was in their civil logs as far as things that were going on, so he posed a bit of a political threat to the dynamic of the Roman rulers, and that was why both sides were concerned. But the government knew they could control him, but they couldn't control the population of the Jews. So that's why he had to just give. He's one of yours. You take him. You know, it's on you. I'm washing my hands.
Yeah.
So, and that was why that was, because he didn't want the insurrection to come on the other side. So, what's one more dirty Jew in the estimation of things? So, 1917, we got Fatima is going on. Great public miracle happens
Great
there
public
at that
miracle.
time, and still not, considered to be a fact by many people. And I
Part of
find
this, what you said is that one, the general public wasn't aware of it. I mean, we're more aware of it now
right.
than any other generation. So even your mom, I mean, they didn't talk about it. I mean, there was no.
It wasn't a thing.
Father Noel must have known about it, but I don't know if he was just waiting for the church to make. I mean, he had his hands full.
Well, they always wanted to discern things, but you had 80,000 people sat there and watched, the sun
happened,
fall out
yeah.
of the sky
Right.
and then be dried immediately after they've been in this rainstorm and sitting in this muddy field.
Well, I got a book that Father Noel wrote. It may be in that book, and I'll bring it. That he had some inkling about that.
Well, he had to be talking about this. He was in the stride of his career. He'd
Right.
already been a
Exactly.
priest for 17 or 18 years.
Right.
And he was already he already had the Sunday Visitor going. So
Did
this was
Father-
right up his alley as far as, public consumption.
Did Father Havel know about the Our Lady of or the Fatima?
Of course he did.
So the Noel must have known then too, if he knew.
Well, Father Havel knew all about it because he was observing that way, and he was a scholar. And
Right.
so,
So did he ever have a comment about it as to why maybe popes did or didn't address it? Or
not really, but he just knew that as he was becoming a priest, that the church was changing and breaking down at that time
okay,
to walk away to become Vatican II.
okay,
And that's why he said it was frustrating for him to enter into the priesthood as the church was turning
wow.
and pivoting at that
And
point.
he saw it, yeah.
It wasn't the church he grew up with, but it was a church that was being left for him to work in.
Wow.
And he was very, very frustrated by the whole thing. Vatican II was very troubling for him. He said it didn't start in 68. He said it started back right before World War II.
Okay.
So, 1917, we got Fatima. 1956, we get Our Lady of America.
Yeah, the
And what
ghost.
happened there?
Well, Mr. Young, you were handpicked by people upstairs, and to proceed with that.
I think it was just
Apparition.
to step in and save the property, and probably more later on. But I don't know. I mean, it's a hard thing for me to talk about, but because so much of it for me hasn't been.
Pleasant.
No, none of it has.
Right.
I mean, what was it? Today is what, August the 19th?
Yeah, or
20th.
Yeah.
Today's August the 20th. It was August the 15th, 2000 was the date that I was given the notice that I'd been chosen by the board of directors selling the property, that I was the winning bid.
And it was the lowest bid too.
No, I was one of the lowest bids, but I
Okay.
wasn't the lowest bid,
Okay.
but I was a low bid. And they chose me because one of their board members was a fellow by the name of Max Ressler. And Max Ressler had been at my parish growing up. So he knew me as a kid. I grew up with his kids. One of his daughters was my classmate. And he put in a good word for me. And I think that was why the board members chose me to be the buyer.
Okay.
And no one thought that it was going to be successful. Everyone thought, but I was just trying to keep the place from being torn down. Because for some reason I knew there was something special and I was being asked to do something. So I was following through on that.
Yeah, and there was early indications too. I think when your brother was alive, that that you got a beautiful response of young athletes that came here.
Well, we were doing
I mean, so you were shown
we were doing the Olympic development program for soccer, and we were becoming a facility that in time was going to grow into probably something that the whole nation would benefit from.
which I'll tell you, Larry. I thought when you got the place, said, he's got to generate income because this costs money. I always thought that was going to be a successful bringing the kids here under, the athletic thing, and that would be enough to keep it.
It was starting to turn, but then the banks fell apart in 2008, and that's what.
You think that set you back, that 2008 collapse?
Oh yeah, it hurt me badly because nobody had any money anymore, and I was being supported. My contracts were with the Olympic Development Program, which was basically 350 American families.
Okay.
That were bringing their kids through, so it was like a club.
And that all stopped.
That all stopped. They didn't have any money. No one had money. Everyone was broke.
Right. Oh, it was a major collapse.
Yeah, so these families didn't have money for these things. So all these programs stopped for a few years,
Right.
down to the core, because there just wasn't money to run them anymore because the families were broke. They couldn't afford to travel. So my options were I could sue 350 American families for non-performance on a contract, or I could walk away and suffer myself. And I chose it was better for me to lose everything than for them to lose everything.
Right. Because they entered into a contract with you.
Right. Well, as a club, they were all responsible. But I wasn't going to go off this futile effort of,
Well, you chose the greater good.
Well, it was better for me to lose it all than for them to
lose it.
Right. It was mitigating the circumstances, the problems.
So we reviewed the blessings of Our Lady of America. We talked about God. People do not invite our Lord into their families, and some of the things that are supposed to be remedied by the children in the future to re-evangelize the world, and that to live a life of purity and to the divine indwelling in their hearts. And this is what our expectation is, that God will have to help lead us to doing his work, and for the young people to do the work, because this is a very important part of God's answer to darkness and the craziness that we're experiencing.
He's showing you there's a path out of this, but you got to take the work. This isn't going to just come to you. And this is where it is with our daily lives, and we got these people sitting at home and being supported by the government, and that's why so many are upset now. It says, well, if Trump and the Republicans take our money away, I got to go to work. It's going to take me away from my family. Well, I think you could probably afford to work a little bit here like everybody else does. That doesn't mean, you're going to stay on assistance your entire life. But there's families all over. We got them around here. They live on the assistance for disability. You'll have 8 members of the same family living in the same home, all collecting disability.
Oh, my God.
It's just a way of life.
Right.
The doctor signs they got a bad back. A
lot of that goes on. They'll sign off on them, right?
Sure. The doctors do it, and then they got these patients for life, and they all got to go to. So it's
patients for life.
It's a dirty deal that goes on. So I don't know. We just have to change things. People have to be responsible. People have to get up, be proud of doing their work. People have to just put these focuses on the right thing, because the other part is to sit back and just collect a check. That's destructive.
Absolutely destructive.
Yeah, and people say, "Well, that's not passion. That's not compassion."
No,
I said it's very compassionate.
Get up and go to work.
Right.
So the third secret of Fatima, our Blessed Mother gave instruction that in 1960, the Pope was to reveal the full
messages
of the third secret, and the Pope was John the 23rd, read it and said, "Oh, I'm not going to release it because it does not reflect who we are in our day and time." And of course, this was, leading up to Vatican II, and it's also leading up to the next apparition after Our Lady of America, which is
Garabandal.
Garabandal.
Well, they were supposed to, 1960 was the year they were supposed to release this third secret, which was pretty damning towards the
hierarchy
church.
of the church, yeah.
Right. And she had told them in 1917 to release this in 1960, with them understanding that they had 43 years to get their poop in a group.
Right.
For them to self-correct. And that third secret was...
Well, basically that popes, cardinals, archbishops, priests, and laity, there will be a great deal of collapse, of apostasy, falling away from the faith, and many souls will be, taken into hell.
They're all being distracted by the materialism.
By the materialism.
And the worldliness.
That's right. And Garabandal also said that our Lord will intervene with an enlightenment for each soul throughout the world. We will be before a mini judgment, and we will see ourselves in reflection of who God is. And I think that may be a key and pivotal point of conversion, the beginning of the conversion, God intervening, and for people to say, "Oh my God, we must, what can we do?" Well, a life of purity, divine indwelling, or the prayers that are needed. So Garabandal will be a sign over the pines in Spain of Garabandal of a white cross. And I've also said to Larry, that was the beautiful miracle that you saw when you were asking God, "Give me some confirmation. You really want me to do this?" And of course he got it, a white cross, beautiful white cross over the springs of the building. And then even a state trooper stopped by and
there were a lot of people stopping on the
said,
highway.
"Larry,
coming
did
in
you do
watching."
this?" They asked him, "Did you do this?"
No.
But so that
Then he goes, "Well, are you sure?"
And I think that it's like a brother sister, as Our Lady of America is through that beautiful cross that illuminates the hearts and the minds of people, that God is intervening. And there may be some connection in terms of, you have to desire divine indwelling, and we have to choose each choice. The purity is choosing the greater good, is what we do day in and day out. And I think that this may be a specific of our Lord's mercy to get this ball rolling. And I'm hoping it is, because the alternative is going to be the hard way.
Well, there is a hard way, and it will be. Not everyone's going to be exempted from it. No, and it's going to be, I think, a tough time when you're going to be watching around you, seeing people falling and self-destroying in that moment.
That's right.
But this is where you're going to need to know who you are and what you stand for, and realize that you can't fix everything.
Right.
Some things are predetermined and are out of your hands, and all you can really do is just pray for those at that point.
That's right, yeah.
But pray for them and trying to incite them ahead of time, because we're dealing with about half our population just isn't aware or doesn't care.